Welcome everyone that's here. Today we are in our last masterclass with Julie. So it's masterclass 10. We've got a special edition today. We have Kevin with us today. We're going to do things a little bit more different to what we do. We usually do it. We've got a list of questions we're going to ask Kevin. So we're going to look forward to the year 2022, what's coming up. And we're also going to bombard Kevin with some questions about how everything started out. So Julie's got the questions. I'm going to hand over to Julie.
Kevin, it's like being on Oprah.
I know.
This is funny. It's your company. Obviously, you and Jeff Willis are the co-inventors, as I like to call you, of Velocity. And then it's kind of like I'm the Oprah. Let's get really into your soul. We want to know all the answers to all the things.
As long as it's like an Oprah, not / Jerry Springer episode, we're in good shape.
That's right. I promise. It'll be
perfect.
Straight up Oprah. Okay, so the first thing I want to get into, I want you to tell us a little bit about how on earth you and Jeff Willis decided to literally create, invent, start a mortgage software company. When you did that, how many years ago? And like, why? How did this happen?
Yeah, so great question, Julian. First of all, thanks for having me today, everyone. Really excited that everyone's on Velocity today. It's been years coming to where we've gotten to at this point. We couldn't do it without all of you. To Julie's question, though, is how did we come to really want a software program to run the mortgage business? Jeff and I have backgrounds both in brokerage as well as banking. So back in 2006, which was Jeff's second tour of duty in mortgage brokerage, and my first, we actually established an independent brokerage, and we used Expert to actually run our business. But what we quickly had realized was that we had to string together a bunch of systems in order to have our business run the way that we wanted to. So we started developing a database program that allowed our brokerage to operate so that we could have personal assistants be managed by this database program. And early on, we did call that program Auto. Really, that was us sitting around a boardroom table, drinking a lot of scotch one afternoon, going, hey, what do we need to call this thing? And we thought of all of these like German cars and German laboratories where people are sitting in white trench coats. And, really, best things come from when you're drinking. So they say, right? True. So really, we started calling the program Auto. And it started out as just a dashboard program that allowed assistants to stay on top of all of our deals.
Right. That's interesting. So you literally wanted a way for your staff and all of your agents and for the two of you to really just manage database, really almost CRM style database. And I was an early user of Auto all those years ago. And I remember using it and thinking, yeah, like this makes sense for a database. And then I moved into other systems, and then I came back around to Velocity in January of this year. I'm a keen student, Kevin. Keen.
You are.
I came back in January, and I went guns blazing all the way in. There's no halfway.
You dove right in.
No, yeah, it's been great. And so you and Jeff were the broker owners of DLC Origin. You had a big team of agents. You have a very successful mortgage brokerage. So now you guys are running Velocity. I'm really interested because you were a really successful mortgage agent. You had a team of successful people. So when you're thinking about successful mortgage agents, what is your best tip, or what is I guess, when you look at successful agents, what do you think it is? What do you think that they do that makes them different from other people who maybe are struggling?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest differentiating factor is efficiencies, and having those efficiencies so that you can offload that administrative work to your assistants or to your staff that you're working with, and do the parts of the job that you should be really good at as a mortgage broker. And that's being in front of people, talking to referral partners, talking to customers, and being able to drive and streamline your business in an efficient manner. So you're not sitting there just, what's your birth date? What's your SIN number? Take that data processing away. And that's why things like our client journey are really important in Velocity, because it allows you to establish that relationship with your customer saying, hey, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you're looking for? You grow that relationship, because this is a relationship business, and streamline it so that you can get a full package right up front. So you're not creating this back and forth that frustrates your customer, your staff, yourself, and your lending partners to really make it more efficient.
That's right. So I agree. So I love that. So you're basically saying, and that is a kind of a Todd Duncan thing, right? I love Todd Duncan's coaching. He's done some coaching for DLC and some of our other teams. He's just great. And he always says, basically spend 90% of your time on all the thing that actually makes you the most profit. What you said it exactly right. That's relationship building, whether that's referral partners or realtors or new leads or clients or our past client database. The 90% of the work, which is collecting a T4, is not a good use of my time or your time or a successful agent's time. So one thing I've been teaching people in Velocity, all the agents I've talked to, and I think I'm into the thousands of people at this point, is start as you go. Do you like this idea? Start as you go. So start off assuming you're going to do $20 million. Yeah. You may have only done $200,000 in business, but start as you're going to go and use Velocity. Even if you're just solo, so you don't have any staff, use Velocity in a way that it would be very easy for you to quickly add a half-time person, a full-time person. And people just go, wow, whoa, I never thought about that. But too many people start and then they get to 18 million, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, their business flattens at that 18, they can't get past that. So I think that for me, Velocity is that. It is creating what you just said. It's creating systems and processes and structure using all the tools like workflows and tasks and the CRM to really guide my staff. And how do I want them to say it? What do I want them to send out? Right. So that's what I want agents to do in Velocity. Yeah. Start as you go. Okay. Next question I have for you. You're really focused on, all of these upgrades. I want to talk about all the upgrades. I actually think we don't celebrate that enough. So I want to talk about the fact that in this calendar year alone, in 2021, how many updates have we launched? And inside of each update, there's different pieces to the update. So how many have we launched already this year?
How many have we launched? So we do releases every second week. So that's 26 releases per year. So we've only got, 3 more releases. So we've done 20 plus releases this year with new features, bug fixes, of course, because as you're rolling out new things, there's going to be bugs in there. It's technology. But, we've probably launched new feature requests, probably upwards of 20 different items this year.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, I think that one of the things when you start to have people who love Velocity like I do, people are so almost emotionally connected to it, first of all, because they live and work in it all day long. They spend, 8 hours of their day with their eyeballs on a screen you guys created. People are also now, Velocity is our channel to lenders. It's essentially the highway for me because I'm all in and our team. It's where we collect all documents. We don't have a secondary document storage facility. I don't believe that agents need one. If they want one, that's cool. I think Velocity can be your one and only. I'm really confident in the ability of the system to safely and securely store my documents. So I've given up secondary storage. So it's really my everything. And then I think when it's your everything, it kind of creates a little bit of worry. And then people go, tell me more. What's happening? What's coming?
What's next?
What's next? That's right. And what I've learned in the last year, it's been such a learning curve with working with you and Jeff and your team, is that the change in software is actually very complicated. In the beginning, I was like, guys, why don't we just change this? And you go, well, that's got a lot of moving parts. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about how many software designers that you have, and tell us a little bit, give us a little inside peek. You're not software thinkers. You are. Tell us a little inside peek about your team and how the heck you guys even start to make changes and how complicated that can be.
Yeah, no, great question. So you go back to what you said earlier. You got to start with the end in mind. Right. So all this feedback that we get from users and things that they want to see, I shouldn't use the word users because that has a weird connotation to it. But our Velocity subscribers, whatever they're looking for, we always have to say, what is the impact to the agent, their assistant, the customer, being the mortgage client, and our lending partner? So it's great to say we're going to make all these changes to Velocity. What's that downhill impact to those other pieces? So, we have a team of 10 developers, which continues to grow. We have business analysts, which really work with the business team to map out what those changes are, what the requests we get from our Velocity customers. And we put those into our roadmap to say, okay, what's the highest and best use? Where are our priorities? And then we sort of build that out. So when we go to make our releases every second week, we have sprints that we plan. And of those sprints, there's upwards of 15 to 20 tickets per developer. And every implementation that we do, we have quality assurance that goes through all those changes to minimize any negative impacts to what's already existing within Velocity.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So there's a lot that actually goes into it. Sometimes we'll hold back different pieces on when we plan to release them because we may find a breaking change. Or once the developer puts it into place and we're looking at saying, this isn't actually very good from a user perspective or a user standpoint, we got to roll that back and decide what are we going to do differently.
Right. Okay.
In other cases, we'll also do A and B. So we'll do a release to certain people to get some of their feedback before we release it to the masses. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what that looks like. One of the major items that we're working on right now that's a priority is our localization of velocity. And localization means translation. It's about converting the full application to French for all of our French customers that we could have both in Quebec and around the rest of the country. That takes a lot of work. There's other companies that takes upwards of 2 to 3 years to do. It's going to take us roughly 6 months from the time we started the project. So those are major roadmap items that we work on so we can be inclusive across the country.
Right. So you're really doing a lot of pre-testing before you're launching any of these changes, probably far more than any of us actually understand as the person who's sitting on that screen.
Yeah.
And then we're getting that great, cute little update, click on the screen that says that there's new features launched, but you're doing, it sounds like quite a detailed amount of testing and verifying, and you're working out all the bugs and all the issues. Yeah. And then when things are launched.
Testing, sorry to interrupt you. There's two types of testing. There's manual testing where we actually physically have someone that goes in and they act like a user. We also have a bunch of automated testing that we have a whole automation team that they build out. When you enter this should happen. And it goes through thousands and thousands of tests to make sure that we don't miss anything.
That's fantastic. I had no idea it was that complex. And that's probably the biggest learning curve for me is like, it feels like when you're working in the system, because it's such an intuitive system for me in many ways. And it has actually, I always say it's very powerful, but in essence, it's quite simple to use. It's quite powerful in what it can do. But when you're actually working on a mortgage application, it's actually rather simple. So when you look at the screen, you guys have made it feel to our eyes, very user friendly. I think that almost gives us the perception that it's probably the same on the back end, but it's not. It's very complicated. You have 10 people sitting there all day long, essentially coding and changing software, and creating new versions and updates. So I think that that's really interesting. And for anyone who's a subscriber, I would always say to people, now we also have a massive amount of people who are subscribers. We have a massive amount of volume and documents flowing through the system. So I've said that to many people is what I've learned is patience. Patience is needed because there's a lot of cool things coming, but these things do definitely take time. And I also say to people,
the hardest thing for Jeff and I as well, because
that's right.
We want to make sure that we're bringing out things quicker, faster, newer. Like we want our client journey 2.0 to be out very, very soon. But we have to make sure these other things are in place on the back end to make sure the user experience matches what we expect.
That's great. Okay, so I want you to think about if you were still a mortgage agent and you were just selling, and you had all these clients. When you think about Velocity, what do you think are some of the coolest features or the things when you have your sales cap on? Yeah. What would, if you were deep into lots of business on the go, what do you think are some of the coolest features that would really work for you?
For myself, client journey and the client portal are my two biggest items that I know work for me, because that really builds upon my efficiencies to build relationships. I get those documents faster. Client, let's face it, client portal is our number one most used feature in all of Velocity.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Right? So it means people are collecting their documents in a more secure fashion. They're doing it because it automatically converts images to PDFs. You don't have to mess around. And clients are getting much more comfortable using technology to send in those documents. As part of that, we're getting more usage on eSign, as well as our easy account access. So those are two items that sort of go hand in glove with the client portal per se. And that's just making everyone much more efficient. So,
right. So those are things when you think back to those sales days of just deals and deals and deals, those would have been hugely helpful to us all those years ago, right? 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, you got, and then the other piece from, BBACs to your clients, build reporting. Digging into your database, knowing that, hey, if I've done 500 mortgages in my career, of those 500 applications that I've funded, each of those applications could have 2, 3, 4 other properties on those files.
It's a great point. Yeah,
Right?
I've been really, encouraging people to get into build reports. So here's my take on some of these things. People look at what you or hear what you just said, or they look at something like build reports, and they instead of giving it a whirl, they feel a sense of like kind of stress, like, whoa, that looks reports sound scary. I think I won't do that. So I'm always saying to people, wait until you have a moment. Don't be doing this in the busiest day of the week. That's Mondays and Fridays are our killer days for new deals and COFs. We have those crazy things called COFs in Alberta, my friend. We're not all condition free here. So Mondays and Fridays are busy. Pick a time on, let's say, a Thursday morning. And what I do, and I'm such a nerd, I actually still do this every single week. I set aside 1 hour a week. And the only thing I do in that hour is I focus on what I don't know about velocity. And I try something else. So this morning, that was build reports. And I have to tell you, it is awesome. I focused on the thing I'm very passionate about, referral partners. Yeah. And we've had this conversation many times. And I went, okay, I have to figure out how I can use Velocity far better in my business to focus on my referral partners and all of the lists of all the leads, the contacts, and all the deals. So I went to my top 10 referral partners on a sheet of paper, and I literally created a build report for each of those 10 people. And it took me, I'm not kidding you, it took me 5 minutes.
You got it.
It was incredible. And I popped in the realtor's name. And it's just so easy. So, I had never really dug into that piece of build reports until this morning. So now I basically had the list, and I just went paper on it. I just actually hit print because I wanted to be able to make phone calls this afternoon to my best referral partners. And I want to be able to systemize updating people on here's a lead, here's the stage, here's what's happening. So I just think sometimes the new pieces of Velocity, some of us haven't tried. It's a little bit fear-based. We're overwhelmed with our business. There's some fear around, trying something new. I always say to people, just try it. Try it. Do you think that's the right attitude? You just, you've designed it. Do you think a lot of times people just need to set aside the time in a calm, quiet moment and give it a whirl?
You got it, Julie. And that's, I think, the biggest challenge for most mortgage agents is they don't time block. So if you time block and say, here's the things I'm going to focus on for marketing, here's the things I'm going to focus on for my deals, here's the things I'm going to focus on for my return calls. When you time block, you can start to dive into these small pieces. And what I really like about what you said was, I just printed it out because we say it's old school, but let's face it, dialing for dollars is the most effective way of getting business. Absolutely. And what happens nowadays is most people don't like to make those phone calls, where it's going to be much more effective to do it. They'd rather say, I'm just going to mail something out, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Hey, like you said, you had your top 10 realtors that came out on that report and you just dialed.
Yeah, and guess what? They all answered.
You got it.
Do you know why? Because no one calls anymore.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of build reporting is you decide how you are comfortable in using it.
Right.
Extract it as a Excel file, or you could dump it into an audience list. If you really don't want to talk to someone, fire them a text or fire them an email. Right. You decide.
Right. Right. So I have a favorite part of Velocity. And I think, I mean, you're going to laugh because I think I told you, I don't really get that part of Velocity or why people are using it. That's SMS texting. I think I actually said that to you like,
You did.
oh,
You did.
I'm not sure about this, Kevin. I think this is kind of odd. And you went, okay, give it a whirl. And then Michael is actually the motivator for me because he had that great little stat. And what's your stat, Michael, on how quickly people read text messages?
Yeah, well, people read it within 3 minutes. Statistically, internationally, it's within 3 minutes. But you were saying that you're getting answers within 1 minute, so
Wow.
you're beating that stat.
So isn't that the funniest thing, Kevin, is that until Michael said that out loud, he said that in a masterclass, I was a bit of a like naysayer on the texting. And then I went, whoa, you could get responses in 3 minutes. That's a proven stat. And I have been really digging into the SMS texting. Tell us a bit about that feature. I heard this cool number that how in the run of, I think it was a month, how many text messages is Velocity sending out to the universe?
Close to 50,000.
It just blows my mind. Doesn't that blow your mind? It's like amazing. It is the easiest, fastest, simplest thing to set up. Let's remind everybody for the entire year as a subscriber to Velocity, for the entire year, you are only paying $99 if you just choose it as a standalone, right? If it's just a standalone, $99 for literally unlimited text messaging to all of your clients. Instead of your text messaging being on this thing, personal cell phone, which I was never a fan of texting for my business because I'm also a mom. I have a life. I have friends. I don't want my business. I don't want texting popping up on my personal cell phone because I don't want to work at 9 o'clock at night and every Saturday and Sunday and feel like I have to answer. So I avoided texting in my business on my phone. The beauty, everyone, of this in Velocity is that the text message replies pop into your email. So you can keep it streamlined. You also need to be really clear on your parameters. I have a little message on the first one that says that, this message is from my client care team. We're available on this text system Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So set your parameters on the SMS texting. Are you finding that people, obviously 50,000 texts a month, are most people using that like in the CRM component where there's automations, or do you find a lot of people are using that as like a one-off send a text?
It's both.
Okay.
It's probably 40% from deals and workflows, the other 60% from CRM. So more and more that is shifting more towards more deal specific, and people are finding that it allows them now to create a compliance file that all their text messages are right in that contact card or the deal. So it's a great place because, if people are doing things right, they're supposed to be screenshotting every single text message they sent from their phone for their compliance file.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's all stored in communication history. So every text that you send and every reply received from the client is stored in communication history. That's such a great feature. The email that is popping into email is such a great feature. And the workflows are great. I've set up a few like new leads and then new apps, workflows. And what I like about workflows, and I'm a big fan of workflows. I like that you can control them. I don't have I have CRM set up to deal with mortgage anniversaries and mortgage renewals. I like the workflows for an active deal, for the submitted, the mortgage commitment has been, received, mortgage commitment signed, files, broker complete, all that good stuff. What I love about the SMS texting is when I'm setting them up for the leads, inherently as a salesperson, sometimes, they don't need that text message, but sometimes they do. So I love that pop up in workflows and they're popping up for me. And I'm just going like delete if I don't want them. Like it's just that quick. It's like not even 1 second. So I encourage everyone to set up workflows for the SMS texting.
Yeah, where people are also using the texting in CRM, it's not just like, hey, I'm blasting you this link to read a newsletter or something like that. What they're really using it for is referral partners. They can have a text that will automatically go out when that deal is approved within X number of hours of that approval. That's where you're seeing a lot more of that. So that's a really good piece to do it with. Going back to workflows, one of the things that people have been doing is setting up a workflow as a reminder to send out their contact card to their new clients and referral partners. And in that contact card, they're very specific, saying, text, like you said in your email that goes out, Julie, it's text us at this number from this between these times, emails here, call us here. And so that people will do that for a workflow as well. So it allows them to utilize it in a bunch of different ways.
That's
where we're
cool.
seeing also more pickup in SMS is all around the client portal, because you can actually text message the client portal link. And then that way they just click on it in their phone. It opens up. Here's all the documents I need. And they're just taking pictures of it. And it's all converted to a PDF.
That's a great idea. I have not tried that. You've given me something new to work on next week. We've only sent out the portal via email, but that's a great idea. Particularly, don't you find in a way for our really young millennial clients, or maybe our older clients who aren't as great with tech, but they have an iPhone, they can take a photo of the T4, they can take a photo of the pay stub. But you're right. If you don't have, old school scanner, like who has scanners anymore? They don't.
That's right.
So the photos become really important. And if you're sending the client portal only via email, I find a lot of people end up on their laptops. So it's not as easy, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually a good point. I think we should all add a little line so the client portal has a great little stock section. People don't realize this either. You can go into your settings and you can change the stock setting on what you say when you're collecting documents in the client portal. I think what I'm going to add is a reminder in there that people can easily use their phone to take photos as well, right? So every time I think of something that would help a client make it easier and more efficient, I try to stop and go into Velocity, whether that's in my settings or my signature. One thing I added to my signature for our team, we added some details in our actual signature that remind people this is a document heavy process. We are aware of that, and we know you're aware of that. We're trying to make the document process easier. The upload button is your best friend. Please use it versus emailing us documents, right? Because it's just a little human language. And I think the thing I've learned the most in trying to teach people and coach people on how to use all the features of Velocity is that I don't think our subscribers understand enough how you can customize it, right? You have to really get good at me and then the settings and all those little pieces, because there's so many things you can customize in there.
Yeah. And it's also having those conversations with your customers on what they can expect, right?
Right.
Setting them up saying, hey, this is a much more secure way of getting me documents. Our security is higher than bank grade security when you upload those documents. They're completely encrypted as soon as you send them. No one else can access them, right?
That's a great
Same
point.
thing when you have your conversations around easy account access. You can have that conversation up front saying, hey, at some point during this transaction, down payment confirmation could be a real pain for you and I to go back and forth on. You may get me a statement that doesn't have your name or your account number on it. Or I'm going to have to come back to you because I have to now verify where this money came from. By telling them you have an easy means to actually get all that information right up front to make it more seamless, it's going to make the process so much smoother for you.
That's right.
If you choose not to do that right now, we can come back to it later on if you do find it a pain.
That's right.
You're setting them up for success and saying, oh, hey, I remember Julie said I had this option if this is a lot of back and forth.
That's right. And yet that's when I listen to you say that, it's like, yeah, that's not just you owning a tech company. That's you thinking back to your mortgage agent sales days where you were creating those relationships, building trust, and just trying to say to our clients, we're here to, it's here to make it so much easier for you. But most importantly, this is what I say every time. The system, and I'm sorry, Kevin, I call it my system. I don't tell them it's yours, my 100%, friend.
It is your system.
Right? You don't need to, I cringe when someone said to me, I tell my client I'm using Velocity, and I go, I'm sure Kevin and Jeff would love that, but no, you don't say that. You just say, I have this fantastic system. I always say I'm with Dominion Lending Centers for a reason. You could say I'm with MA or MCC or whatever you're with for a reason. I'm there for a reason because I'm with a company who is providing me with fantastic technology. It's secure, it's encrypted, it's better than bank grade security. And I'm so lucky to have this with the parent company I work for. I've adopted it and I want you as my client to use it. That's a lot different than I have this system called Velocity and please click upload. So we have to all think about and focus on how we're pitching the efficiency to our clients. And I also pitch the efficiency to my referral partners. And a really cool thing you can do with your referral partners, and particularly if you want to win a new realtor, and I do lots of purchases, that's my focus in Calgary. I do work with lots of realtors. Do you know what will wow a realtor? literally send them client experience, ask them for a pay stub and an LOE, remind them in the body of client experience, this is pretend. I want you to enter your name as Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse, and I want you to put all fake details, just a bunch of nonsense. That's all you're going to put in. None of it's real. And I want you to click on the upload button and literally under pay stub, upload a picture of your kid or your dog. And I want you to have the experience that I'm giving my clients. I'm telling you, I'm winning over. I hope no one in Calgary is going to listen to this, Kevin, because I'm winning over referral partners by showing off what Velocity can do for our mutual clients.
Yeah. And Julie, what I loved about what you said is it's your system. And I think, you joke around saying, Jeff and I would love for you to say Velocity. We want it to be everyone's system.
That's right.
It is their system, because if you think back to your banking days, one of the most common issues or challenges in client experience was the jargon that we would use with customers. I think back to when I was a teller and I'd walk over and I'd say, "Oh, I'll be right back. I have to go over to the CDU and get some money for you."
Yeah.
Well, what's a CDU? Cash dispensing unit, whatever, right? Velocity means nothing to a consumer. It only means something to you as a mortgage agent. So what better way of saying, hey, I have a much more secure system that I use. It's my system. And it's got bank grade security, all the things you just said earlier. That's a much better way of positioning it to your customer.
Yeah, I just want a deal from my receipt, because the client actually called me and said, I was kind of competing for the lead, right? It was that stage. And I said to the client, he said, I have a meeting with our receipt, or I have a phone call. I said, okay, great. Do that call. And then let's have a call and I'll guide you through my process. And he went to RBC, or he called them, or whatever he did. And then I guided him through my process. And of course I'm using client experience. And the next day he called me back and he said, you will not believe this. This guy that I talked to at RBC on the phone wanted me to email him my T1 gens and NOAs. And you very clearly in the beginning of the call said, that's unacceptable to me. I feel that's a security risk for you as my client. And he said, you had this system to upload. And I felt really safe uploading the T1s because you talked me through it. And it's kind of shocking that the lenders in our world and in our channel and other channels, they're struggling so much. And that's going to lead me into my next question. They've struggled for a decade to try to kind of figure out tech, right? And we see that with their portals. Some are awesome and some of them are creating new portals. We see the lenders. I know at RBC, when I was there years ago, this is now 10 years ago, they spent $700 million to invent a system that was about a tenth of the effectiveness of Velocity. And guess what? When they invented that system after $700 million, they didn't take into account that all of the sales reps were at home and mobile, and we didn't have enough Wi-Fi power to run the system. So they invented a system for the mobile sales force that literally didn't work at your home. $700 million later. So lenders are struggling. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of, I guess, partnerships, and it is a partnership between Velocity and lenders. The partnerships that we have with lenders, and give us some of the scoop on your take on, I guess, lenders and tech. And I think there's so much value Velocity can add to lenders. And I think there's so much efficiency Velocity can create in terms of really clean, beautiful applications. Tell us a bit more about those partnerships and how that's going to work in the future.
Yeah, great question. So, you said you had a bunch of softballs for me today, and that's a great one because that's where we're heading for 2022. It's true. Lenders are our partners in this business. Brokers wouldn't be anywhere without our lenders.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
We need them to be able to do business. And traditionally, all they receive from a mortgage broker is a data set, which is just, birth date, SIN number, all the assets, and a credit bureau. And that really shouldn't be acceptable anymore by a lender. Because Julie, if you're collecting a full package up front and you have everything to confirm income, down payment, why should your deal be at the front of the line when I've just given you just an application and a credit bureau?
That's right. Well, my deals are at the front of the line, my friend, because I send full packages. But I'm fascinated by, tell me how Velocity is going to be able to help us as agents and also help lenders.
Yeah. So we've focused on over the last 4 years of really improving our connections with the lenders for our data transfer. We've also been working on document transfers with our lender. So you're going to see an announcement next week from a major lender that will be live to actually transfer documents directly to them. from Velocity without you having to download, drag and drop into their portal. So for all those agents out there that, your submission agent, you have to upload into their, with their username and password. Someone's changed the password on you for the 5th time. You can't get into it. We have eliminated that for you with this lender. And we actually have quite a few lenders that will be coming on over the next 4, 6, 8 weeks that will have this direct document transfer into their portals.
It's possible. This is the best news I've ever heard. And there should be champagne right now in this
There
moment.
should be.
And every mortgage agent in the country who's using Velocity needs to be celebrating this. We need to remind ourselves as agents, when this happens, this is changing the face of our industry forever, is what's going to happen with this direct upload. So I think we need to make sure that all of our subscribers are also thanking their underwriters and their BDMs and their lender partners to say, I use Velocity and I love it. And this is the coolest integration. And thank you for the partnership, because it's our lenders committing to us as agents via your system, right? They're making a massive commitment to our channel. And I think that this is the most exciting thing for me. Like, I can't wait for this, because as I said, I only use Velocity, and my entire team does, as our only storage facility. We don't also save somewhere else. So we are just so excited that it's going to be the direct, and there's one coming, and there's more to follow. Is that what I'm hearing?
There's more to follow. So like I said, you'll have one major lender, and it's a top 3 lender in the industry. I'm just not letting the cat out of the bag.
I hope I know who it is.
Yeah.
I hope I do.
So they'll be announced next week.
Okay.
And live next week.
Wow.
Okay. For the complete document transfer. So what used to take you maybe 5 to 10 steps to do, 1 step.
Okay. So you guys must feel really proud of this. You should feel so proud of this. This
We
is
are.
monumental.
We are. It's something that we started working on and really implemented through our, what we call Link, our bridge to the lenders at the beginning of 2021. And we've just been working with the lenders throughout this year to get them up to speed on receiving those documents.
Very cool. Now, tell us if there's any hope. Can you make this happen with NAST and Solidify? What kind of magic do you have, my friend? Can you? So I know how you guys think. I know how you guys think. You're starting here, and then I envision, well, there's so much more, because if we can show our industry in terms of Velocity, that Velocity is the one place to safely, securely store encrypted docs and move documents to lenders in a safe manner, then we're also going to be able to leverage that to say to some of these other big service providers, and you've already done it with NOA today, right? You're already doing it with the NOA companies, but can we hope someday that could be also with things like NAST, Solidify, and appraisal companies?
Yeah, so we've already been having conversations with both of those companies. We actually have a supplier API where third-party suppliers can come in and utilize our platform. So we're constantly in conversations with them. Other partners like FCT, we're doing more stuff around property validation and Opta, things like that. We're still, we're still going to continue to improve those. We're also working on things like a verification and income of assets report, which is something that you take 12 months worth of transaction data, and you'll get a summary for your underwriter that says, hey, here's how many deposits you got from TD Canada Trust as your employer. Here's the large deposits over $10,000. Where do they come from? There's going to be KYC built right in there, fraud detection. So we're working more and more towards those types of things. And because we're able to do document transfers, we're going to continue to work on things like optical recognition of documents within the platform as well.
Wow.
So there's a ton of things that we can do for our lending partners to make it more streamlined for everyone.
That's really cool. I mean, those are just also exciting. And for a lot of us to say, can you tweak this little box or this little piece? Again, I really want people who are listening, and people are going to watch this on YouTube, and all of our subscribers, I really want people to understand that, yes, you're thinking about the minutia, the little bits and pieces, but that you're also thinking really big. Right? These are massive changes coming to our industry. And that is why, for me, in January, it was certainly a debate. And I've told you this, like, do I give up all my systems that I like and know and trust And do I launch myself into something completely new? And the tipping point for me, there was a couple of factors. It was the fact that the DLC group of companies, has partnered with you guys and is making a massive amount of just push and investment, and they believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they believe in that for all of their agents. And I think there's a leap of faith for many of us inside of MA and MCC and DLC. And I think that the time to leap is here, or it's already here. So I was kind of slow to enter in January. For anybody who hasn't made the decision to at least seriously consider Velocity, consider it. How could you not, when you're starting to talk about lender partner integrations and all of these other things that are coming soon? I'm going to be on the beach and I'm going to be able to basically do a mortgage app in 2, 3, 4, 5 touches, and I'm out.
You got it.
It's going to be amazing, right?
And like you said, Julie, it is a leap of faith sometimes when you start. It's getting in there and saying, let's not bite off more than you can chew at the beginning. Start by replacing the system that, is easiest to replace. And that's Filogix.
That's right.
Let's replace your expert platform today to do your submissions.
Right.
And then you slowly integrate your other pieces. Don't feel like you have to do it all at once.
That's right.
And if you love a CRM program that you already have today, don't feel like you have to switch it to Velocity right away. You may say, hey, I'm going to utilize the API and have my CRM run as it is. We're not going to hold your data hostage. Your data is yours. You decide how you deal with that and what systems you utilize. But we're going to give you a better submission platform that is all encompassing to run your business in a secure, streamlined fashion.
That's right. And that's what we did. I used Django, and I kept Django for quite a while. And what I've done, what's gotten me though, is the CRM is working so well for me. All of my setup is done now in the CRM that we are actually going to give up. We are giving up Django. We're not renewing. We have a yearly contract with Django until next spring. And the CRM is just functioning so well. And there's so many things I know I can add to it that I know that I can replace. I've replaced about 80% of Django in the Velocity CRM. The last 20% into December, when I'm a bit slower with business, I'm going to do the last 20. And then that's $1,100 US a year that I'm paying. And that's just for one account with Django. So I used to be called, I don't know if you know this about me, Django Julie.
And
Django made me into a little cartoon, and they had me on their Canadian advertising with a voiceover. And I feel a little bit bad because I really did love Django, but it's an incredibly complex system to set up, and it's quite costly. So I've been saying to people, this is the new path. And for me, it's that all in and Velocity. So I agree. You can use the API in and out. If you're loving it, keep it. You're not saying reinvent the whole wheel. You're saying take the pieces of Velocity that you're finding another system is a challenge. People are using things like Trello. I'm like, you don't need Trello anymore. Trello's, you could still use it, but I don't think you need it because Velocity functions like that. So my last 2 questions here. I want you to tell us like stretch goals. We want to understand the future. When you think about Velocity in 5 years from now, 5 years, which is in technology is light years away, isn't it? Because I think of all the changes we've had in the last year, all the changes that you guys already have getting ready to launch into early 2022. What do you think this looks like in 5 years?
What this looks like in 5 years is a much cleaner client experience that allows a broker to formulate better relationships than they do today. So our next piece that we'll be releasing in the new year is Client Journey 2.0. which is a much more client-centric application. Like ours is good today, it's going to get even better. You're going to have, instead of saying, is this owner occupied? Well, are you living in it? Like we're making the language so much easier for a customer to understand. And we're integrating NOA consents right up front. We're integrating easy account access to do the bank account scraping and populate the assets. We're going to continue to add more and more of those items into the client journey that allow people to make sure that they're getting all the information easily at their fingertips. We are also incorporating smart conditions and smart docs right into Client Journey 2.0. But how we're doing it differently than the competitors is that we're going to have it preset for you. You decide deal by deal whether you apply smart docs or not. And if you do apply smart docs, but you've also spoken to that customer and said, hey, I have an idea what you do for employment, and I know you're purchasing, and I'm going to ask you for these documents right away. It's not going to override or duplicate anything you've already asked for.
Okay, that's it. So it's really truly intuitive. It's as if Velocity is thinking for itself, reading the intel that it has in the app and understanding the document request. So that's really cool. So my last question, and this is the only hard question I'm going to ask you. People will say to me things like, I've actually heard this a couple of times, is technology going to replace a mortgage agent? Is that possible? You own the company that is going to be, I believe it already is, the smartest, most efficient mortgage platform. It's a mortgage universe, as I call it. It's not just a submission system. It can be just that, but it can be all the way from referral partners to leads, all the way through the deal, submitting lenders, documents, compliance, CRM. How tech, I don't think tech's replacing us. What do you think? I think we need tech.
Yeah, let's face it. Any tech could replace anyone, but you have to decide who are your constituents, and mortgage brokers are our constituents. And our goal is to make the life of our mortgage brokers and our lenders better. So we're going to give mortgage brokers the tools to make their lives easier, make it so that really they can have a life and do more business, right? And that's, instead of you sitting at your desk for 15 hours a day, we're going to make it so you can do the same amount of business in 6 hours a day.
Right.
But to replace a mortgage broker, in my opinion, is really never going to happen, because it's the biggest purchase of any consumer's life. And to not have a personal relationship with someone that is going to put together that financing, I just don't think is ever going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I read this great article years ago that said it was the research study. It was done in the 60s on who are the very best, most successful salespeople. That's what we do. This is a sales role. And that the research says that you need to have equal parts empathy and drive. Empathy and drive. Those are the two number one factors of really successful salespeople. You need to be able to make connections with other humans, your clients and your referral partners. You need to have the drive, which is I have to get the business done. And what you're saying, in an efficient, orderly, productive manner. I think that you're right, that there is no replacement for the human touch, for the warmth and care, or the intellect and the ability and the advice. If someone says it's fixed or variable, that's a really complicated conversation that has to go back to what your client's goals are in the next 5 years, first of all, right? And I always joke, you probably need to remind them of the divorce rate. It's really high. So if you're debating fixed and variable and you're first time homebuyer and you just got married, you actually need to start to think about some of these things, because I have a lot of clients getting divorced right now. So it's just like that human touch cannot be replaced by technology. So I agree with you. I also think the most important thing we can all do within Velocity is what you said. You may or may not want to work longer hours, or you may or may not want to make more. I think you can work the exact same amount of hours or less hours, and I think you can make more. Right. So I think our subscribers shouldn't be afraid. Sometimes I think we're afraid of success, because success might mean I have to work more. I have been using Velocity since January. There's no question my partner and my husband, Andy, and I are going to have our best funding year ever. And I've also had the time to learn Velocity and hang out with you guys and have some fun sharing this with other people. And I have not worked a minute longer in my mortgage business than I have any other year, because of the efficiencies that I'm finding in Velocity.
Yeah, and I think that's that way for a lot of mortgage brokers across the country that have taken on Velocity. I was with Terry Lynn Moore last week, and same thing. She feels she's much more efficient today and having her best funding year ever because of Velocity, right? So we're going to continue to bring more and more lending partners that are unique to Velocity. We're going to give you better systems to utilize day in and day out with features and enhancements that are going to make your life easier, your client's life better. And that's our goal. We're just going to continue to improve. We're not going to sit back and just wait for the business. We're going to help the business come to you.
That's right. No, we're really in the most exciting time in our industry and in technology. I just want to thank you so much. First of all, this is my last masterclass for now. I'm just having a little rest. Is that right? I don't have a rest, Kevin.
Yeah, we'll call it a hiatus. How about that, Julie?
What if you and I should take the show on the road, though?
We should.
Travel's opening up.
We are.
I think we make a heck of a team.
I think we'll do a few in Toronto, a few in Alberta.
This was a painless Oprah moment for you, wasn't it?
Totally.
Right? You're just
Yeah.
like, this is great, right? Michael's laughing. He's like,
No,
it's
Julia, I'd like to thank you for everything that you've contributed so far and will continue to contribute in the future. You've been a great advocate and ambassador for Newton and Velocity. And I think there's, hundreds and thousands of agents across the country that can say, it's great to have Julie on our side and really share her knowledge with everyone. So I do really appreciate everything you've done with us and for us for the last, let's call it a year. And, I continue to look forward to working with you in the future here.
Yeah, it's been the most fun ever. We have the best industry. We have the most incredible brands and parent companies that we all work with. And we have the most incredible agents who are obsessed with getting better. That's what I've loved about what I've done. And when you teach, you learn. So it's been a real thrill, an honor, and a pleasure. And you and Jeff are awesome. As we always end every single masterclass, we always put a thank you out to Mr. Kevin Deere and Jeff Willis, the original, the OGs, the actual inventors of Velocity. Mad scientists they are. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you for being our guest today. And thanks for being on Masterclass 10. We appreciate it.
No, thank you very much. And thanks again for everything.
Awesome. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks, Michael.
Everyone.
Good to see you.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.